In today's clip, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of what I find in Dave Ramsey's vaulted 7 baby steps. Hey, Zen Puck here. Another day not working for the man. Alright, so today I want to talk about Dave Ramsey and his baby steps, right? Because I really like Dave Ramsey overall. Let's just be clear. He is one of the OGs of personal finance gurus that once I listened to his show a little bit, I was like, you know what? Even though I'm not religious, I'm totally into this guy's vibe, right? Very down to earth, very relatable kind of guy. His story is very relatable too. He was bankrupt, at an early age, and he rebounded. We Americans, we love a comeback story, right? So that's awesome. But I'll note this, right? One thing to be clear, Dave's audience are not quite working towards FIRE so much as trying to dig themselves out of a massive dead hole. So the advice that he gives caters to a much more, I would say, general crowd. I think that's fair. But still, I want to go through his baby steps one by one and see which ones, I feel is still relevant, whether you're getting out of debt or just a regular guy trying to get out of the corporate game and the rat race as early as possible, right? So let's go through his baby steps. Baby step 1, save $1,000 for your starter emergency fund. Excellent. My God, you definitely need that $1,000, right? This is really for car breaks down, you have some sort of emergency repairs or a medical emergency. $1,000 will get you on your way, keep you moving, right? Totally agree. Number 2, pay off all debt except the house using debt snowball. I really like this one too. Another check. There's people who argue the debt avalanche method, where you attack the the debt with the highest interest rate first, is more economically efficient, but I agree with Dave. The snowball, where you attack the debt with the lowest amount first, will make people feel like they're accomplishing something, right? And that's much more important. The psychological tricks on working on your debt over time is much more important than the actual monetary value, right? Because you won't save any money if you don't finish paying off a debt. And if your highest interest loan is your largest one, you just won't feel like you're making much progress. And that's why the snowball just works more consistently than the debt avalanche method. Of course, let me just be clear. For this step, that's assuming you have debt other than your house. You shouldn't, okay? The correct way to manage your life is to never be in debt at all. No credit card debt, no personal loans, no car loans. Those are all awful things, right? So the only debt you should have is house. But we'll get to that. But again, if you have these other debts, definitely pay them off first, right? I agree with this. Step 3, save 3 to 6 months of expenses in a fully funded emergency fund. I agree with this in concept, but this 3 to 6 months, people can differ on how much expenses you want to save up, right? 3 to 6 months is okay, but people don't usually understand why it's 3 to 6 months. I'll tell you why. This is where you're preparing this money for in case you lose your job. So on average, how long do you think it'll take you to find another job in your field that you would accept happily, okay? If it's longer than 6 months, let's say you're in the oil refinery field, okay? It might take you a year to find another place. Maybe you have to move. It takes a little longer. If it takes you a year to find that job, your emergency fund, the fully funded one, should be for a year, not 3 to 6 months, okay? Because this is the big emergency, right? Because loss of income is the biggest emergency that you can have. Because every month you don't have work, you're in the hole, right? We don't want that. Step number 4, baby step number 4, is invest 15% in retirement. Okay, I mean this is one of the only steps that I think I would disagree with him on, because I think you should put in that much in retirement, but you should put in much more, like aggressively more than 50%. If you make anywhere more than $30,000, you should be saving 50% of your income for long-term purposes, right? I don't call it for retirement because honestly, for people who like FIRE, it's just about the financial flexibility. It's not about retiring, okay? That is a word that's been driven into our heads by the government, like you reach a certain age and all of a sudden you can't work anymore. That's not true, okay? For human beings to survive and thrive, you need to do something, right? Whether it's for money or not, like calling it retirement, like as if somehow you hit retirement, all you do is sit at home and watch TV, that's ridiculous, okay? Step number 5, save for your college funds for your children. Doesn't apply to people without kids. Conceptually, though, I agree. I would say something more like college fund or HSAs, possibly, okay? Because everybody needs health costs down the line. Not everybody will have children that needs educational costs, okay? Step number 6, pay off your home early. Agreed. Who wouldn't want to do that? And step number 7, build wealth and give. Now, I would say, again, conceptually agree, but I give all the way through baby step, I would say 4. Like if you're able to invest in your retirement, you are able to give a bit. Okay, you don't have to wait until you've paid off your house to give. Like that's just silly. So let's do a quick summary, right? I love step 1 and 3, which are just about emergency funds, which every single person needs. Every household needs that. Love step 2 and 6, which is about to pay off debts. Also, absolutely agree. Every real rich person really have no debt that they have to take, right? I'm talking about personally, not for things like business expenses, right? Especially if you're like a real estate developer. Using leverage is a great thing. I'm not saying that you can't have a mortgage or anything like that. I'm talking about for people, for their personal expenses, okay? So I also agree with building wealth and give, and I also agree with the college thing, right? So really, this is very good beginner's advice, okay? It's just beginner's advice, though, because, look, it's called the baby steps, okay? It's infantilizing the audience, right? It's basically saying, hey, you guys are such children that you have to follow these steps that I have to spell it out for you, like for a baby. Again, for his audience, I can understand, okay? These are, if you're in debt, if you have multiple sources of debt, that's all you're good for, really. You're a baby until you get out of debt, right? Get out of debt and you're paying your house off early. To me, once you're at like step 5 or 6, you're saving for your children's college and paying your home mortgage off early. You don't really need to be, called being in the middle of the baby steps anymore. You're already ahead of the game. But for most people, if you're just trying to get out of debt, you're right. Dave is right. Follow the baby step because you're not financially, mature adults at all, right? But this is just a beginnings course, okay? There's so much more to learn. And to hit on your fire journey, check out some of my other videos.